Operation Epic Fury is reshaping the balance of power in the Middle East, but the ripple effects could extend far beyond the region. One country we're watching very closely this morning, China. Beijing has deep economic and strategic ties to Iran, and we are happy to have with us today Gordon Chang, China expert and foreign policy analyst. Gordon, thank you so much for being here with us today. You recently posted that America is fighting China and Russia in Iran. Tell us about the bigger picture, what we are seeing right now.
The bigger picture, Vanessa, is that you have Iran would not be able to have assaulted Israel, for instance, on October 7th, wouldn't be able to support its terrorist proxies if it did not have Beijing's backing. So, for instance, Beijing last year took 87.2% of Iran's exports of crude oil. There's a diplomatic and propaganda support, plus also weapons. Iran's weapons are Chinese weapons. Iran has a lot of Chinese weapons, and so do Iran's terrorist proxies. Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi militia all have large quantities of stuff supplied by Beijing. So, really, what we should be seeing is Iran as a proxy of the Chinese who are seeking to disrupt the world.
Yeah, you mentioned oil. China exports a significant amount of oil from the Middle East. Supply lines could be disrupted. Tell us more about that.
China gets about 45%, maybe 50% of its imported oil through the Strait of Hormuz. And right now, that strait is closed. President Trump is working to open it up by providing insurance and also, of course, the military support of getting the Iranian Navy out of the way, plus taking down Iran's missiles. But until that strait is open, China is going to have a severe supply disruption. This is also important because our allies in the region, South Korea, Japan, our great friend Taiwan, they also depend on oil out of that strait. And of course, Saudi Arabia, Qatar, countries in the region that are exporters, they need to get their products out through the strait. So this has now become a critical matter.
It is, and the Strait of Hormuz, I'm glad you brought that up because as it remains unstable there, what maybe 20% of the world's oil runs through that strait. So it's a very important body of water there. Could China step in to protect its interests with this strait shut down?
Not really. Although China has more ships than we do, they have 395 major vessels. We only have 296. We nonetheless have the Navy that can keep the strait open, and China really can't project force. And that's for a lot of reasons, Vanessa, not just ship count. But right now, the Chinese, they're not a superpower. We learned that on January 3 when Trump took out Venezuela, another Chinese proxy. The Chinese talk big beforehand, they do nothing afterwards. We saw that pattern again with Iran. They're not being able to help Cuba, another one of their friends. So there's only one superpower in the world, and it's the one where President Trump sits from the Oval Office and directs it. So it's us. It's not China. It's not Russia. We are the ones that can determine our own fate, the only ones that can determine our own fate. And we're the only ones that really can affect outcomes around the world when we are determined.
You're absolutely right. Venezuela, Cuba, Iran becoming weakened in these strikes. This is a loss for China, like you mentioned. They talk a lot of talk, like you said, but the big winner here is the United States of America. With Beijing, how invested is Beijing in the survival of the Iranian regime?
It's invested for a number of reasons, and one of the other ones is that the Iranians owe the Chinese a lot of money. Also, there are a lot of Chinese investments in Iran. There was in 2021 the announcement of that strategic partnership. It's supposed to be $400 billion of investment over 25 years. The Chinese haven't put as much money into Iran as the Iranians would like, but nonetheless, there's a lot of Chinese cash there, and Iran has been executing Chinese foreign policy. So very much Iran is a instrument of Beijing.
Gordon, you have been warning us about China for a very long time. I want to bring up one of your posts now where you said this, and I think this is very important. Many say it's not America first to hit Iran. I think it's because Taking down an enemy of America makes us all safer. Enemies are coming after us, whether we care to acknowledge that or not. I'm so glad you put out this post because there's a lot of Democrats out there and rhinos out there as well, social media influencers who are turning on this administration for Operation Epic Fury. But you have made it very clear to say, yes, it is America first because they are going to attack America if we don't attack them first.
We know that, Vanessa, because go back a couple years, you have Iranian operatives in the United States. They tried to assassinate President Trump. They tried to assassinate former Secretary of State Mike Pompeo and other former Trump State Department officials. And this was at a time of calm. We know that the Iranians took down the Aliquippa, Pennsylvania water system in 2023. And at the end of December of last year, the Iranian president said publicly that his country was in a state of war with the United States. We know that Iran was trying to reconstitute its nuclear weapons program. We know that they had substantial amounts of 60% enriched uranium, which is not enough for a bomb, but it's very close. Plus, we also know they have the components for what the North Koreans call their Hwasong 15 missile. That's a ICBM that could hit every square inch of the United States. So we know the Chinese were supplying a lot of equipment, military equipment, to the Iranians in the last 5-6 weeks. So this was imminent. President Trump was right to hit Iran. And I think the critics are just being partisan for the most part, or they are so ideological in the case of libertarian Republicans that they cannot see the national security interests of the United States. You know, people don't have to agree with Trump on everything. But when he defends the interests of our country, when he defends every American citizen, I believe there's an obligation to line up behind the president. We need to have politics stop at the water's edge.
You're right. And I back the president 100%, especially, now in this time. The bottom line, Gordon, I want to ask you this. Does this conflict bring the world closer in the end? I know we're seeing this right now and it may get worse before it gets better, but do you see that the world will become closer because of this operation?
Oh, I think it already has, Vanessa. We have seen our European allies who've been carping a lot recently have now started to coalesce behind President Trump. This was symbolized by German Chancellor Friedrich Merz, who went to Beijing, had very quote unquote intense conversations with Xi Jinping. And then afterwards, he shows up in the Oval Office. Merz is publicly talking about how the Atlantic Alliance needs to coalesce behind the United States. We see our allies and friends in East Asia supporting the U.S. This is very, very good, a very, very good development for us, not only with regard to Iran, but around the world. We see the countries coming in supporting President Trump.
I invite everyone to follow your X account, Gordon, because you are posting there many times a day, keeping us updated and informed, very knowledgeable of what's going on with Operation Epic Fury and how it affects America and our world. And we appreciate that. Thank you so much for coming on today and giving us your expertise of what's actually going on and how this affects not only America, but other countries as well.
Oh, Vanessa, I hope that you and Mike stay safe because this is important time.